Hi everyone, thanks for joining in. I'm excited to have Karen Whittle-Herbert joining me today. Thanks, Karen.
Hi Jackie, how are you?
Hi, good, thanks. So a little bit about Karen. Karen spent her childhood in Geraldton at the mid-west coast of Australia before moving to Perth to study at the University of Western Australia, where she completed a Bachelor of Commerce and a Master of Science in Applied Psychology. Karen has worked in aged care, disability services, higher education, Indigenous land management, social housing, and the public sector, and is a graduate member of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. She is a board member of the Interlife Group and Advocare Inc. and president of the Fellowship of Australian Writers. Karen's debut novel, The Rivermouth, which I've got a copy here, got your copy there as well, was published by Fremantle Press in 2021 and has been optioned for film and television. And her second book, The Castaways of Harwood Hall, will be published in 2022. So thanks so much, Karen, for joining us. It's great to have you.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure and good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock here in Western Australia. The sun is just setting. We're on Whadjuk Noongar land, and I'd like to start by paying my respects to the elders past and present and offer my support to emerging elders. It's been a lovely weekend here. We've had 30 mils of rain, my husband tells me.
Yeah.
Which is nowhere near what people have had on the East Coast.
No. Well, I'm in Sydney and we've had a lot of rain.
Yes, you have.
Mm-hmm. Just wondering if you want to start off by telling us a bit about the Rivermouth.
Sure. So the Rivermouth is set in a fictional coastal Australian town in the 1990s. And a 15-year-old boy is shot. His body is pulled from the Weymouth River with a bullet wound to his chest, and the killer is never found. We go forward 10 years, and his mother, Sandra, receives a visit from the local police. Her best friend has been found in a dry riverbed near a remote Pilbara road, and she's passed away. And her DNA matches the DNA that was scraped from under Sandra's son's fingernails 10 years before. So as the investigation is reopened into Darren's death, Sandra starts to question what she knew about her best friend. She discovers there are secrets in her small community and that her son might have had secrets too.
Mm-hmm. And could you tell us a bit about what the first idea was you had for the Rivermouth?
Oh, absolutely. I started writing the Rivermouth with a scene of Darren and his two friends playing on the banks of the river, as kids do. And they were swinging off a rope swing and testing out their boundaries and scraping their toes and arguing a bit. And it was a scene that I created from my own childhood. It was the river bank was a place where kids could go and roam and test out their boundaries and their relationships unseen and away from parental supervision. It was a wild place, but it was also a little bit dark, a little bit dangerous. There were hairy caterpillars and there were snakes and spiders and people roaming around who our parents probably didn't really want us to get into contact with. And, nothing happened to us as kids. We were fine. But I wondered about the boys in this scene that I'd written, and I wondered how their lives had turned out and what had happened to them. And I had a feeling that it might not have been all that great. So I wrote the Rivermouth to find out what had happened to Darren and Tim and Colin.
Well, yeah, that's interesting what you say about that because I've got a question from Tamazin. She said she's read The Rivermouth and she loved it, and she didn't guess the ending, and she wonders if the ending was always the same or had you changed that as you wrote the book?
Oh, see, that's the thing, Tamazin, is that I actually didn't know. I didn't know what had happened to the boys for
Mm,
quite a long time. And having read The Rivermouth, Tamazin, you'll know probably about 5 chapters before the end, something really shocking happens.
mm,
And I didn't know. I didn't know that thing was there until I wrote that chapter.
that's
And
really,
I
yeah.
appreciated that
Mm,
storyline was so important.
mm,
And there you go. So Tamazin, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about there.
mm. And Tamazin also says that she met you at, I think, is it the Coltslow book signing?
Oh, really? At Cottesloe Booksellers in Napoleon Street, my local.
Mm. Kelly wonders what's been the most surprising thing in your writing journey.
Oh, Kelly, so many things, so many things. This is a whole new industry for me. I wasn't a writer. I wasn't part of all of this until I was made redundant a couple of years ago and started writing. I think I think one of the most surprising things has been since The Rivermouth was published, um, and it's a silly thing. It's a really silly thing because we all know this as readers. That was having people come up to me and reacting in such different ways to the book and to the
Mm,
characters.
mm.
Especially people would come to me and say, I knew what was going to happen right from the start. And I'd sit there going, how? How did you know? That's ridiculous. And other people would say, I didn't get it until right at the very end.
Mm,
And of course, we're all readers, aren't we? And we all know that each other reads differently. We sit in book clubs and we laugh at each other's mistakes. Um, but being on the other side of that, I don't think I really fully appreciated just how different we all are when we read a
mm.
book.
Yeah, yeah. And you said that you got into writing a bit later. Had you always thought you might want to be a writer?
Oh, Jackie, I think when I was a school kid, writing was what I was good at. I was
Mm,
literate. I read lots
mm,
of books. I wrote lots of stories. But a little girl in 1970s and 80s Geraldton, um, how do you be an author? What
yeah.
does it look like? What do you
Mm,
do with your day? I had nothing that I could see that could show me what that was all about. So I didn't aspire to it at all.
mm,
And I think, later, maybe through my 30s, I wrote little bits and pieces in between working and looking after the kids. But I'd come back to it a month or so later and read what I'd written and just go, oh, just
mm.
don't.
So can you tell us the story on how you actually became a writer then and decided that this is what you were going to do?
Well, in 2019, just pre-COVID, I came back from a lovely holiday in New Zealand with my husband, and we've been walking in hills, and
Mm.
we toured around in a camper van. It
Oh,
was
nice.
the best time.
Mm,
And I went to work, and at 4 o'clock that afternoon, my boss called me into his office, and he said, "Look, things are not going all of that well, and we need to cut costs, and I'm afraid your job is going to be one of the ones that goes."
mm,
And I was taken down to my office, and I packed up and I left. And
mm,
um, and I went home and had a bit of sulk and a bit of wine and a chat with my husband. And the next morning, when Ross went off to work, I came in here to my office and I sat down and I started writing. And I guess I did that because that's what I do. I go to work every day. It
mm,
sounds terribly boring,
mm,
but that's just how I was made. And I wrote until Ross came home, and I did it the next day and the next day, and worked from 9 till 5 for 12 weeks until I had the first draft of Castaways.
Oh, wow. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a usual story, I don't think.
No. And when you'd written that, how hard or easy was it to get published?
I was extraordinarily lucky. I was made redundant in April. I had a contract for the River Mouth in January. I had a contract for Castaways in January the following year. And by July that year, I had a contract for the River Mouth as well.
Oh, wow.
So that was a very, very, very fast, very smooth process for me. And I feel extraordinarily lucky. I've listened to the stories of other authors who've submitted and submitted and submitted. And I listen to them, and I look at their perseverance and their resilience and their ability to deal with knockbacks. And I think, wow, would I have been that good? Would I have been that tough? And I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would.
And then to have it optioned as well for TV or movie.
Oh my goodness, how wonderful is
Yeah.
that? The lovely people in Melbourne at Spark Plug Films contacted my publisher around July last year and said that they really loved the River Mouth and they wanted to make it into a movie. Oh, and so we've all got our fingers crossed and our toes crossed and our arms crossed, hoping that they raise enough money to be able to make it happen.
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it?
Oh, to see Sandra on screen.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Justine Clark. So, Justine, if you're out there
And Kelly wonders if you regret not starting your writing career earlier.
I have moments, Kelly. I do. But I also wonder if maybe I didn't have anything to say, or if I did, I didn't know how to say it. I think now is the right time because it's the right time.
Yeah. And I can see lots of books behind you. Could you maybe tell us what you like reading, and just wondering if you want to recommend anything to us?
There's two lovely books here from my stablemates who published on the same day as me. So this one is by a very naughty girl called Sally Scott, who is just, it's an awful lot of fun. She has written a character called Alex Grant, who loves shoes, as you can see.
Yeah.
And she loves her cheese. And Alex, when she's on holiday in Croatia, runs into some old friends, and they're attending a funeral, and just things seem a little bit off. And when Alex comes back to Australia, she goes to visit her friends at their creamery in Margaret River.
Yeah.
And there's some quite odd things going on. And look, Alex is a bit of a busybody, and she goes snooping. And Fromage is all about how Sally goes snooping. So I highly recommend this one.
I haven't heard that one before, but it sounds like a bit of fun.
Oh, it is. It's so much fun. And this other one, Private Prosecution, by Lisa Ellery, who also published on the same day as me. Lisa's also another bit of a naughty girl. She's a lawyer, though, and she lives in Kalgoorlie running her own practice. And this book has a lawyer at the centre, and his name is Andrew Deacon. And Lisa's going to tell me off for saying this, but if you can remember every single annoying private school boy that you ever came across when you were dating in your 20s, this is Andrew Deacon. He really needs to grow up. I hope she writes some sequels so that she can make him grow up. Anyway, Andrew finds himself the prime suspect in a murder inquiry. It's a girl he slept with last night. She woke up dead. So this is how Andrew gets himself out of trouble, away from being the prime suspect, and solves the murder. Excellent.
That sounds good.
Yes. And aside from those two, at the moment, I've just finished reading a new release, Wild Dogs by Michael Tran.
Yes, yeah.
You've read Wild
No,
Dogs?
I haven't, but I've heard lots about it.
Look, it's an absolute romp. It's not a fun romp, it's a bit of a bloody romp. But Michael has, at the centre of his story is a dogger called Gabe, who's old and crusty, and he traps wild dogs for a living, but he's not allowed to do that on nature reserves or on Indigenous reserves, and of course he does. And he also gets up to some other things that are probably a little bit less ethical than trapping dogs where he's not supposed to. But he's out in the bush and he comes across a people smuggling ring.
Okay.
And he has to save the day. So it's Wild Dogs is a bit of a gallop through the Wild West, the absolute Wild West of Western Australia. Just up in my stomping ground, actually. So I recommend that if you like a good action mystery thriller.
Well, thanks for those recommendations. We love getting more books to add to our list of ones to read.
My pleasure.
When I read out your bio, it sounded like you've done a lot of different things. Wendy's wondering if you could tell us maybe a little bit about what you did prior to writing.
Sure. Immediately prior to writing, I was working in aged care. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a hands-on person anymore. But I was working in management. And look, it's a really tough industry. And since I left, we've been hearing so much about it with the Royal Commission. We've heard dreadful stories about people who have been in lockdowns and haven't been able to see their family, and it's been really hard. Since I left aged care, I've started working for as a board member for an aged care advocacy group called Advocare, and we provide the Elders Hotline here in Western Australia, and we extended that out to people in Victoria when Victoria was in the absolute worst of your lockdowns over there, and there were a lot of people in aged care who weren't getting the advocacy support that they needed. And I think that's something I'm very proud of, that our little organisation here in Australia was able to manage phone lines to help people away over the other side of the continent. But yes, it's a really difficult time in aged care, and looking at the federal government's current platform, I'm really hoping that they overturn their decision in this budget not to allocate extra funding for wage increases in aged care. We're going to get them. The Fair Work Commission case that comes up in June, July is almost certainly going to raise the minimum wage for aged care workers, as it should. And, not just because it's fair value for the job, but also because the industry just can't get people. It's a hard job. It's demanding. It's thankless in a lot of cases. And it needs to be paid more if we want people in the industry. So, whether the federal government likes it or not, we're going to have to pay people more, and we're going to need money in the budget for aged care organisations to be able to afford to do that.
Yeah, very true. Kelly wonders, has COVID had any impact on your writing?
Not really, Kelly. I'm here in my house with my books and my computer. It's my family come and go. When we've had our own lockdowns, we've ordered in groceries and had people deliver stuff. It hasn't been too hard at all. my first experience of editing, of course, was done in the first year of lockdown and of COVID. And so I did a lot of it on the phone and remotely by email, but I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful process, actually, editing. I heard people say to me before I entered that process that it was really challenging and could be quite confronting. But, you know, it was so much fun. And I think maybe as a newbie, I felt like I was so delighted that there was another person spending all this time reading my book and taking it seriously.
Yeah.
But also, it stretched me. I felt like I got taller and broader, and it made me think and challenge the logic of some of the things I put in the book. And even to the point where I had a character that my editor didn't quite understand. She said to me, "Karen, I don't get." He had a lovely wife, great family, good friends. He was clearly well off. Why did he go and do that? And I sat there on the phone thinking, don't know about this woman. She obviously doesn't read very well. And then I explained to her for 10 minutes why this man did what he did, because it was so obvious. And at the end of my little rant, she said, Karen, that's great. You know, you understand your character really, really well. I'm really impressed with your character development. How about we put all of that stuff in the book? And I went, oh, yeah. Okay then, big notes, write this character's story into the book. So editing was lovely, even if it was done remotely during COVID.
And what about promoting your book? How has that gone out with you?
Oh, I was quite frightened. It's one thing to write a book and have people read your book, but it's another thing altogether, isn't it, to stand in front of people and talk to people and have them ask questions about yourself. And I wasn't sure how that'd go, to be honest. I wasn't sure if people would like me for a start. But it's not that hard. And the lovely thing about it is, in promoting the book, I also get to meet all these people who talk to me about the things that they read, the sense of what they make, and I hear their stories as well. And that's really nice. That I do like that.
Yeah. And you've got a second book coming out this year.
I do.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and when we might be able to read it?
I can. So the Castaways of Hairlord Hall comes out in October 2022. It is, I guess you'd call it a cozy crime. It's set in a retirement village, very posh retirement village. And the hero of the story is Josh. And Josh is a very sweet, possibly a little bit gormless university student and part-time aged care worker. And one night he impulsively steals 2 research mice from his university. And he hides them in the basement of the retirement village. Now, Josh is really happy about this arrangement. He goes down to the basement and he feeds his mice carrot sticks and celery sticks, and they munch on them and they get fatter and fatter, although one gets a bit fatter than the other, which is Josh doesn't really pick up on for a while. He needs his girlfriend to tell him. But the mice are research mice, you know, so they might be carrying something that people were researching. And Josh needs to find them a forever home. But of course, the basement being what it is, there are strange boxes coming and going, and odd spikes in the village's water bill. And the residents are starting to wonder what it is that Josh is doing down in the basement all this time. So Josh needs to find his furry friends a forever home before the residents cotton on to what he's doing, or the guys in the white vans, put him in the van.
I wondered if I was going to ask you when you spoke about your background in aged care whether there was going to be some book about that in the future. So,
Of course there is.
No, that sounds really exciting, and I hope I have a chance to talk to you about that one as well when it comes out.
Oh, I hope so too. I hope so too.
Yeah.
And there's an aged care home in the river mouth.
And quite different though than the river mouth, it sounds like.
Very different time.
Yeah.
Very different time. Yeah. I'm trying on different sized trainer wheels.
Yeah. And so does that mean you're actually thinking now about your third book?
I have written my third book.
Yeah.
It's with my publisher at the moment. I've got all my fingers and toes crossed.
And is that quite different from the other two, or some similar?
It's still a crime.
Yeah.
It's still a crime. It's more a city-based crime. There's corporate corruption.
Okay.
And an inept bureaucracy. Weymouth gets a Guernsey again. And there's a horse called Shane.
Oh, sounds good. Good luck with that one then as well.
Thank you. I was fortunate to attend a Sisters in Crime book club.
Oh yes.
So if any of the Sisters in Crime in Western Australia are out there, hello. And we were chatting about the river mouth, and it turned out that many of the ladies in that book club were ex-public servants.
Oh, okay.
So we compared our public service notes.
Yeah.
And I thought, I wonder if they'd mind. So I brought up the first chapter of my third book on my phone and read it to them. And it was wonderful. They hooted in all the places that I wanted people to hoot.
Yeah.
They recognised filing systems and they recognised office layouts and they said, yes, we'll read this book if you publish it. So that was very affirming.
Yeah. And Lydia wonders if Fremantle Press was the first publisher that you went to.
Yes, they were, Lydia. I did send Castaways to 2 agents, and they were both very encouraging, but said the book wasn't something that suited their lists. So I then sent it direct to Fremantle Press. I think it was about 2 or 3 days before their submissions closed for the year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just before Christmas. And I did it. I wasn't going to send it direct to a publisher, but my daughter said to me, people do that, Mum. They don't always go through agents. And Fremantle Press have got their subs open at the moment if you want to put it in. So I did, and got a call in January.
No, that's a great story on your publishing journey. Kim says she's so glad to see so many books lately reflecting our older generations.
Yeah, that's right, Kim. It's good, isn't it? Especially when I was writing Castaways, I wanted to write something where we had older people that were whole people.
Yeah.
And the thing is, working in aged care, I think maybe the most useful thing I ever did was just to sit down and listen to people tell me who they were.
Mm.
You know, what they'd done. They were architects and engineers and nurses and accountants and people who travelled the world and raised children and had done all sorts of interesting things in their lives. And they really wanted to know that I knew, with, you know, a woman with a suit and a fancy title, that I knew who they were and what they'd been and what they'd done, and that I wasn't seeing them as just a dotty little old lady or an annoying old man. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to write, I'm going to write older characters, whole people, and not caricatures of older characters. And I hope when you get to read Castaways that you will love the people in that book the way I love the people in that book.
Yeah. And Melissa, she said, a horse called Shane, that's precious.
Melissa, Shane is a busybody and he won't be told what to do by anyone.
I'm wondering if you could tell us what you've found so far to be the most difficult part of your writing process.
The difficult part. The difficult part, Jackie, is not so much the writing process, but it's the shift in identity. I find that really hard, and it's something that I've discovered about myself that I don't particularly like. You know, working as an executive in an industry, I had a title, had a purchasing card, I had an office, I had status. If people were convening committees to advocate to government on issues, I was part of that. My views were respected. And now I'm really just nobody. I'm just Karen, and I don't go out to fancy breakfasts, and I don't drive my nice car into the city every day and wear suits. I'm wearing a lovely white top at the moment, but I'm actually wearing jeans underneath. And that loss of status, to my shame, I found I really felt that. So that's probably been one of the hardest things. And then coupled with not knowing if my writing was any good. That was hard for a while, and still is a bit hard. You know, I get onto LinkedIn and I see people that I know take wonderful new jobs, and I congratulate them, but a little part of me still sits here and goes, oh, that could have been me. So can't have everything. That's probably been the hardest thing.
And are you in the room where you do most of your writing, is it?
Yeah, I sure am. I sure am. I'm sit there with my photos of my kids. And different Christmases and all my books.
All your books, And do you have a favourite snack or drink while you're writing?
Oh, there's an idea. I haven't thought of No, I am afraid I don't. I don't tend to eat while I'm writing. I stop for my snacks. And I do have, you can't see him, and I'm not going to shift the screen, but I do have a deaf, blind toy poodle on a rug on the floor down here, and he quite likes it in his dotage that he can smell his mum. If he can't see her and hear her.
Very cute.
Yeah, dear little fella. His name is Schubert. He hasn't composed anything yet, I'm afraid. I don't think he's ever going to.
And if you could give any aspiring writers a tip, what would you like to share?
What would I like to share? Something that has come to really break my heart starting writing is meeting with younger people, particularly younger women
Mm,
who are writing, but juggling work, paying off a mortgage, they've got small children, and they listen to my story and they say, Karen, how do I do that? How do I carve out time to write and to get 2 books written in a year? Tell us your secret. And I think, oh, my secret is that I'm 53 and I've paid off my mortgage and my children, except one, have left home, and we can afford for me to work part-time now. And life is so long, and I look at these lovely women and I think, you're amazing. You're amazing that you've got something to say and you know how to say it, and your writing is just so beautiful, and you are writing it all. But it's not a race. Take your time. Live life. It's living life that gives you stories. And don't push yourself too hard.
No, that's wonderful advice. Before we finish off, do you want to share with people how they can keep in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. I'm very easy to find on social media. If you just you look for Karen Herbert author, and on Instagram and Twitter, I am the Herbert Whittle that you see, because my real name is Karen Whittle-Herbert. So Herbert Whittle on Instagram and Twitter is not a cranky old man sitting somewhere judging you. And there's a stereotype for you. That's actually me.
Well, thanks for that. It's been great chatting to you, and hope everyone goes out and reads The River Mouth.
Please do, and let me know if you enjoy it.
And thanks for the questions that people asked tonight as well. They were great.
Thank you, everybody. It's been really nice to be here with you all.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Good night.